not an idiot. He's just Swedish.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
You are no fool or idiot, sir. You're just Swedish. We all...
Yeah.
We'll give you a pass.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, this was an interesting week in life and in trial. Travis Rudolph got acquitted.
Yes, he absolutely did, and I think that was the right outcome. Although, one could reason their way into a guilty verdict for Travis because he ran after them, and it depends on who you believed, but it'd be hard-pressed to believe the thug life wannabes that showed up at his door that evening. So I think the jury made the right call.
Yeah, and now he's doing interview rounds with the people, and his lawyer has been on different streams, and maybe that's something we should think about in the future if we cover a trial where we kind of agree with either the prosecution or the defense that, hey, come on up here.
Come on over. Yeah, give us an interview. We're nice. We won't bite. Sadie, you can interview with me.
Yep.
Speaking of Sadie, we did a Twitter storm for Zach today, apparently. Although I still find Twitter extremely difficult to understand what's going on. All I did was retweet a bunch of things that people tweeted, but I don't know how successful it was or how to gauge that. But hopefully it went well.
Yeah, no, I don't know how well it went because I didn't even know there was Twitter, but I saw that.
I found out about it by accident.
Yeah, Pharaoh Housewife tweeted out half an hour ago that Solomon Anderson is more or less right now in a meeting with Law and Crime for an interview. And that's exciting.
That was very cool. There was a picture that was posted on my Facebook group, and so I shared that out as well. He's sitting there with his Free Zachariah Anderson shirt on and giving an interview. So hopefully they don't trash him or anything like that, or Zach. Hopefully they do a fair interview with him, and we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, because you never know how they will cut and paste an interview. But then again, the stones on that guy just exposing himself for that audience, because they don't have a nice audience.
No,
the chat on their stream is pure vitriol, and by dumb luck sometimes they get it right, like the Travis Rudolph.
I don't know how their chat got it right. Maybe because it was the girlfriend. I think it started with the girlfriend. It was so unlikable that that everyone in the chat said not guilty just because they didn't like her. And that's not the way we're supposed to be judging trials, people. We're not supposed to be gut instinct based off of our emotional reactions to somebody.
Yeah, and I went on a little Twitter rant. Not actually, it's just like an hour ago. When this is something I might do a video on or a stream on. But first, let's say hello to everybody. Amanda, Gigi is here. Alexei, great success, is back from the last stream. Mads is here. Fedorevsky, Youngmin Shelley, Indigo Luna, Eva Phantom. Yeah, people are starting to show up. Well, I went on a little rant. And let me just read it back to you and see if you agree.
Okay, you went on a Twitter rant. All right.
Yeah, I'm a bit annoyed this weekend. I wrote this. The difference between live streaming crime tubers, not all, and so-called law tubers is that when law tubers hears something that is odd, we stop and analyze. For instance, why did the prosecution's expert use those words? People with no education, little or no education about law and or evidence evaluation don't know or don't care. They make bank on their audiences ignorance and play on it. If their audience screams for blood, blood they get. Law tubers, in the midst of entertaining, try to educate their audience. And few, if any, claims to know what a jury will decide. Few, if any, will give their audience blood if there is something wrong in the prosecution's case. Perfect example is the Zachariah Anderson trial. Crime tubers' audience screamed for blood and cheered over the conviction. I still haven't seen a law tuber not react the same way when they either saw the trial or heard the facts afterwards. It was an injustice. Sadly, crime tubers outnumber law tubers. There are channels out there that they're still getting tens of thousands of views, sometimes hundreds of thousands of views, claiming things that wasn't even in the trial. But they make bank on it because they don't care.
Well,
Yeah.
I have nothing to add. That was perfect. In fact, I didn't see your Twitter rant earlier, and I just retweeted it now.
Thank you.
But no, that's exactly right. I got into a debate. I did a little on my Discord. I did a little a cooking episode on Thursday, and then we started talking about crime tubers versus law tubers. And I said the problem is that they don't know what they don't know. And I compared him to Mo because Mo's doing a good job. She's not a lawyer. She's not trained, but in listening to some of her streams, she knows what she doesn't know because she's been listening to law tubers. And so she'll say, that seems odd, but I don't know why. I don't know what's going on here. I'll need to ask Dave or Nick or somebody to find out why, exactly what's going on here. But she at least knows enough that she doesn't know. And that's the difference, other than, unlike some others that will go unmentioned, where their primary focus is the audience and the drama and, getting the emotions tied up into it, which sells better. Emotions are sexier than legal analysis.
Yeah. And also, I listened to Emily D. Baker earlier this week because she's covering the Koberger trial and motions. And apparently the Koberger defense have motioned for the court to not allow cameras in the courtroom. And among other things that they brought forward as an argument is how they are not treated is the wrong word, but they one line that was in the motion was about a body language expert who claimed Koberger's narcissism and psychopathy as an argument. We because that will influence a possible jury and will do it impossible for Mr. Koberger to have a fair trial.
Well, to be fair, I tore apart the Dateline episode that had that very guy. Well, I don't know if it was that very guy. I don't know if they're talking about YouTube or what. But I tore apart that Dateline episode where they had essentially a FBI forensic guy, whatever, it said, oh, absolutely, this guy is he's a sociopath. He's, potentially a serial killer and all this stuff based on nothing but a hunch. And I tore him apart. And then but yeah, that stuff is bad. And that's the stuff that shouldn't be out there. But again, it sucks.
And because I recognized that particular language, and because he used almost the same language against Zach. And now I don't want to say his name out loud, but you might recognize this guy. Add to stream.
It's always the helpful part. Oh, I know him. Did he do something about Zach?
Yeah. He had it.
I haven't watched
No,
anyone else's coverage about Zach.
let's see here. There it is.
What
I
was
will
his outcome?
mute the yeah, because I don't really. But he was then analyzing the relationship between Zach and his defense lawyer, claiming something odd is going on, almost sexualizing it, staring at breasts. And now this guy claims to be a forensic psychologist and a body language expert. And in all honesty, after listening to his I will not play his garbage, but the way he doesn't even go, in my opinion, he doesn't consult. For instance, Eric Hunley, he is a body language analyst, but he surrounds himself with lawyers, and always, this is an opinion. I think we can see this here, but always have a discussion around it. This guy claims things as facts.
I've never watched him, and I don't know anything about how he analyzes stuff. But if he's out there claiming that Zach and Nicole had an inappropriate relationship of some sort or something is going on, and claims it as a fact, then and he's doing it for other people, I'm surprised he hasn't been sued. But again, I have no idea. I've never watched that particular stream or any of his streams to claim something as a fact like that.
Yeah, but let's take this down.
Yeah, I agree. All humans. Whoa, I got big. All humans are body language experts. They really are, unless you have some sort of, there's some people that have what is it called, where they're kind of like socially awkward. They have no self-awareness. Then a lot of times those people get it like exactly wrong. But most people do have situational awareness or social awareness, and are in fact, able to judge people.
Yeah, and I have what I call my bullshit meter, because after 30 plus years in negotiations, in mitigations, and you develop a certain sense. But I would never dream to claim I'm accurate. I will just call it. I sense this is bullshit.
Yeah, but you qualify it with I sense, not this is.
Yeah. And as both you and Fedorescu says, all humans are body language experts. You can decide, it's not hard to get that, or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean it. But for instance, I wrote a couple of weeks ago that body language experts are as reliable as tarot readers. And
seems about right.
Yeah, but at the same time, it cannot hold up in court because it's not falsifiable. But it's almost the same as lie detectors. It's not as much as the cards or the lie detector. It is the questions and how the person in front of you reacts. When you have body language interpretations, a person like Dr. G looking at someone in trial, I must say, you can't make those claims he does. And I don't, but he makes bank on doing it, because so when he does his normal videos, for instance, passive aggressive personality disorder, he has 1,800 views, which is good. It's good if you like a channel like yours and mine, but he has some 40,000 subscribers. should be more. But when he does the Koberger and Zachariah, he has between 20 and 70,000 views. Now, I hope at least that my chat will call me out if I start doing this crap for views.
I'm wondering
Because
if he is
he was on the
if he's banking on sort of confirmation biased. I wonder if people are going there to confirm their their own suspicions or whatever, that kind of stuff. I don't know. Again, I don't watch them. There's the behavioral panelist or panel that does something similar, and a lot of people like them. I don't.
But
a terrible
it's a matter
amount.
of
They're okay.
Yeah, but that panel at least have a discussion, and they have lawyers on, so it's always a discussion around.
And there's 4 of them, and they disagree. They don't always agree on what something means and whether or not the person's telling the truth or things like that. So at least it's, to quote a phrase, fair and balanced. But
yeah. No, so that kind of pissed me off, and I was I'm not having a great week because I had a negotiation that should have ended Friday afternoon. It didn't. Instead, it went almost all of Saturday. I got home in time for yesterday's stream, and it finally concluded today, which was we had to, because the previous contract would have ended tomorrow. So we were on a bit of a time limit, but both us and opposing party, and I know why, but I can, as normal, if it's, I only speak about cases or negotiations that is more than 10 years old. So I can't discuss this particular, but I had this might be 15 years ago, had a negotiation, and negotiations is a bit of a dance. You have certain points that you want to have through. You give some, you lose some. You can always roll back to a previous item. If you give a lot over there, you can ask for more over here, so to speak. And about 15 years ago, a normal negotiation, until someone decided that he or she wanted to make a shortcut. So they went over my head, contacted opposing party, and came to an agreement on 3 of the, I believe, 7 issues we were discussing. But that, all of a sudden, well, you took, that person took away 3, almost half of my arguments in that negotiation.
Was this the client?
No.
Oh, okay.
We don't have. This was not about clients. It was about an agreement between union and employer.
Oh, okay.
That had to go through, and it was a big employer. So we were a few persons in this, but he decided to go over my head during active negotiations and make deals on 3 of the 7 points, which left me with 4 points that I only used as leverage to get something out of those 3. Or if I had to give away one of these points, I could get up the 4.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I'm left with 4 points I really didn't want. But yeah, so that was interesting. So I went to that person and, okay, this is not okay. You can do this in an active negotiations without checking with the negotiators first, because we need to know this. And so we had a bit of back and forth, and I may or may not have been less of a diplomat. And then,
well, it just undermines your whole position that you had planned and
yeah,
worked out and that you were going to do. And people sometimes think, even clients sometimes do this, and it undermines their position to the point where it hurts you more than it helps you.
Yeah.
Don't go around your attorney's back. Don't go around your negotiator's back, because it never works out good. So that's what you were dealing with last week on Friday?
I cannot confirm or deny. Yeah.
But now we know why you missed your stream.
But yeah, and but me, I was less of a diplomat back in the day. I did know this guy because I worked with his dad, who was a big shot in the union way back in the day, and then turned to politician. So, well, that's your dad, right? Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, your dad was kind of a moron, him too, and that almost ended my union career. But yeah.
So I have some union questions for you. The trope in the United States with unions is that they protect the bad workers. We hear story after story that this guy who's lazy always shows up late. You can't fire him because he's protected by the union. Is that and there's some truth to it, like if there's a guy screwing up, say, on the line at Ford Assembly, the efforts that need to go through in order to terminate him are so high that a lot of people don't even bother. They'll write him up and they'll do things like this, but they know at the end of the day the union's going to fight, and it's not necessarily worth kind of going through that process. And these are for bad employees. I'm not talking about the good employees that the employer is trying to screw over somehow. But is that a situation that you encounter in Sweden, or do the Sweden unions protect bad workers? I guess is my question.
Well, we defend all our members, but then we have regulations to protect employers. For instance, in the central agreement and in local agreements, it's 3 strikes, more or less. You get a verbal, written, and then you can fire. We can still, as a union, say, no, these weren't good reasons enough, and we can fight it but more or less 1, 2, 3, boom. Just to avoid that situation where we always have to defend the bad worker no matter what. So we have that, and I've seen that a lot in when it comes to U.S. unions, that they are allowed to go much further than we can here in Sweden, and we are a social democratic country. I remember I read about I believe it was Teamsters who they took out the people who drove the concrete trucks. They took them out to strike, but they waited for the concrete trucks to be filled, and then they said, "You're on strike," just to sabotage. Because now all of a sudden, the company had to more or less get people with shovels to get the concrete out before it settled.
Yeah.
If a union had done this in Sweden, they would have faced criminal charges for sabotage. So there is some extraordinary differences in how, in certain states at least, in the US, that the unions are allowed to go so much further than any other country.
Well, because the unions give a lot of money to politicians.
Yeah,
that's why. That's why we, unions get away with a lot, because, well, you're going to crack down on us. Fine, we're not donating to your campaigns anymore. That's exactly what happens. So,
and I had that with what's it called, the right to work or non right to work. where
now in
you
Michigan, it is
yeah
you must join the union if you work
yeah
in a union shop.
yeah, and also for me that means that the union is shit at their job, because if you're running a good union, you have the arguments to have people to join you. You don't have to force anyone. And let's see, I run negotiations in 12 different workplaces that doesn't have their own union club, and we still get between 92 and 95% memberships, because
But they're
I
not
give them
forced.
the reasons. This is why we do this. This is why we show up and do the negotiations. This is why this and this and this. So people join. And you can never do anything about the last 5 to 10%. Are they freeloaders? Maybe. Are they job jumping? Maybe. I don't care. As long as I can keep those numbers, but somewhere between 80 and 95, I'm perfectly happy. I don't care about the rest, as long as I can keep those numbers. I don't have to force anyone to join the union because they do it anyway.
Well,
So
and that's
that's
what
my principle.
I had a debate about electric vehicles over the weekend, and I said, I don't know of another invention where so many people are trying to convince you how great it is and why you need to invest in it and why you need to purchase it. I was like, think of electricity in the first place. Think of automobiles. Think of airplanes. Think of all these other inventions that came along. Think of the internet, computers. Nobody had to force you to do it. You didn't have all this social pressure to do it. If it was a good idea and if it was viable, it would just happen.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the unions. It would just happen if it's good, if it's a good idea, if it works for you, if it's not a crappy entity, it will just happen. You don't need to force these things.
Yeah, I agree. And if you're doing your job good as a union rep, workers will come to you. Now, different workplaces have this union busting thing going on. Yeah, in Sweden, union busting is more or less illegal. It's not an actual written law, but we can use different kinds of actions. We can do if we have members, we do have a right to at least call to a negotiation. They kind of have to show up. We have the right of information, but we can't force them to write a collective agreement. Now, if they keep pushing us out the door, it can end up in a blockade. For instance, we call our version of the Teamsters and say, that workplace, not good, low pay, no insurance, don't show up with goods there. And they can say, but that's a process we have to step by step, which we have to follow by law before we can do those actions.
Are you allowed to, as an employer in Sweden, fire do mass firings or anything like that?
Well,
in England,
they have to announce it. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, in England, it's weird. In England, you have to be, you're not fired, you become redundant, meaning that the position you were in no longer exists or is not needed, and that's the way they fire you. It's kind of weird in England. Is there something like that in Sweden? Because in the US, for the most part, you could just be fired.
Well, some employers use that tactics that they move people around within a workplace, and then they zone off the workplace, and then they sell that machine, and then you are redundant. But normally, if it's up to 7 people, it's up to the employer to they can. We have something called turordningslista. First in, first out, so to speak, and then the longer you have been there, the better right you have to keep your job. But if you're a 7-person workplace, they can make exceptions. But if it is a larger redundancy, for instance, if it is more than 50 people, the company has to announce it 3 to 6 months in advance. And that is not because of the union, that is because the unemployment authority, they need the heads up so they can, that's the government that can come in
Oh.
with education, create, just prepare for that kind of big redundancy. Because many places in Sweden has so low population that one factory getting rid of a third of their employees is devastating for that little town.
Well, and
So
that's the same way in the U.S. too. There's a lot of well, there used to be corporate towns. They're not corporate towns anymore, but there's a lot of one industry towns
yeah.
where if a particular industry factory, say, shuts down, that's the end of the town. Or if it does mass layoffs, that's the end of the town because everyone in that town works there. There were even when it comes to like state prisons and things, there's a lot of prisons throughout Michigan where the entire town, its industry is based off of that prison. And when they decide to shut it down, that town then becomes a ghost town. Jody is saying that she became redundant from her first job, but you get a severance pay. So maybe that's the difference between getting fired and being declared redundant is you get the severance pay.
First in, first out is a terrible way to choose who gets sacked. Well, I agree, but in that exception,
Depends on the job.
It depends on the job, because if you have special skills, the company can choose to, no, not that person, because that person has special skills that we need. But that doesn't apply, for instance, for forklift drivers, because if everybody drives the same kind of forklift and does roughly the same good job, then it's first in, first out. And our unemployment pay, so to speak, if you quit, you have a 45-day penalty before you can receive your unemployment. If the company sacks you or you are redundant, you still have a 7-day fine before the, not fine, but before your unemployment starts. And that can be that can be because in Denmark, for instance, I believe it's still that you can quit on the day and still get your unemployment. And that system, it works both ways. But it doesn't work that way in Sweden, because the company, if the company can fire you on a day if they have the reasons for it, the legal reasons for it, but you can't quit without getting a 45-day before you get unemployment.
Really?
So that's an inequality there, in my opinion. But
see, we don't
that's
get
just the way it is.
Generally, you don't get unemployment in at least Michigan if you quit, if you voluntarily quit, or if you're terminated for like stealing or something like that, for some sort of like crime or things like that. So basically, you have to be fired for no reason in order to get it.
Okay, Denmark is 30 days non-pay. Okay, I didn't know that. I haven't talked to Danish unions for quite some time.
What do you mean 30 days? So you don't get paid for 30 days after you get fired? After you quit.
After you quit. Okay.
Okay. So the other thing I was going to say is in
it
the
might
US,
be Norway.
Okay. In the United States, when you say you're fired and you qualify for unemployment, you call in and right away make a claim. They will assess your claim immediately and just start giving you money while they're making the determination. But if they make the determination that you weren't entitled to it, then you got to pay it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. If you quit the first 30 days, you will get no unemployment benefit. Yeah. Sweden is 45 work days. So it's 9 weeks.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You
Yeah.
have to work for at least that long before you get unemployment.
No,
If you quit
that
the
you
first
have
30 days.
if you quit, then
If you
you
quit,
in
comma, the
Denmark
first
it's
30 days, you will get no unemployment benefits.
yeah.
Okay.
And if you quit in Sweden, you have no unemployment benefits for 45 work days, so 9 weeks.
Okay.
So that can be devastating for someone, and that's why people almost
is why you
always
s-
have next job lined up.
Well, if you're quitting, yes, you need the next job lined up. There's also something to be said for saving your money. I have
Yeah.
a friend of mine that's a couple years younger than me. He's actually the one I got into the debate too about the electric vehicles. But he was made redundant. He lost his job, and yeah, I guess over a year ago, maybe 18 months ago. And I said, "Oh, what are you going to do?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm just going to not work for a while." He didn't work for
Mm,
like a year, maybe 13, 14 months. And then he's like, "I guess I'll
mm,
get a job," because he
mm.
saved his money. He was just like doing his thing and, running
Yeah.
around. And then he's like, "I guess I'll get a job now and do something." So, but he's not like wealthy or anything. He just sort of planned ahead and saved.
Mm,
I don't have that ability that he does. I could not just
mm.
quit for a year. Otherwise, I'd be doing YouTube for a year. But
Yeah,
no, it's just amazing.
same here. If I could afford to quit for a year and just build up my YouTube, I would do it. But I like my farm, and
I'd
once
have to
the
give up a lot.
downstairs is yeah. Now, if I really downsized and put myself in a one-room apartment, maybe. But I
But who
don't want
wants
to
to
be
do
in a
that?
one-room apartment because then I have neighbors, and neighbors kind of complain if I do streams after 10 o'clock at night. Um,
Yeah,
no,
nobody
I
wants
like it out
neighbors.
here.
My neighbors are too close to me as it is. I need more land to get away from them, not less.
Mm,
Ooh, I
yeah.
got into my first Twitter argument today.
Oh,
I got into my
really?
very first. I've never gotten into an argument with on Twitter. Um,
Oh,
I have no idea who this person is. Legal
mm,
tax-paying immigrant had tweeted something, and I think actually I saw someone else retweeted something that this person said. Uh, so the comment was, "This is why we need the government and the FBI to do more to keep us safe from far right
yeah.
extremists." And then I retweeted it or quoted it, and I said,
Mm.
LOL. Oh, wait, he's serious. And then the guy and then the guy responds. He's like, "Look at the thread. He confirmed it many times," meaning like, I don't know, something that he was trying to say that the FBI needed to protect us from. And I was like, "Oh no, like he's like really serious. Like he believes the FBI is here to protect us." I
Oh,
said
really?
mental health issues creep up on us really fast. So I got into like my first. I was excited. I've never done a little
Mm,
Twitter rant battle
mm.
thing back and forth.
No, I have once in a while, quite often, I must say, because you know, I can never be a diplomat. I just can't. And just a few hours ago, I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, there was this person who they were actually talking about custody. So I was thinking about getting you involved, but then I guess now he already he talks about it enough. But it was about the inequality in custody, and she said, more or less, let me actually educate you all on this topic. And then she goes on to claim 90% this, 10% that, 90% this, and this is why. And of course, can you show me these studies? Because if you argue a point and you show numbers, you should at least be able to give numbers. Okay, where
Right.
did you get those numbers from? And of course, she didn't reply. and but other people did it in her place, and it ended with, "This is Twitter. We're not in court." Um,
Well, that seems like a weak argument to make.
yeah,
She
they
she
were
didn't she didn't
showing
have the numbers. She didn't want to fight.
Yeah. Well, showing, for instance, here's a link to this lawyer firm's blog. Okay, nice. Where are the sources?
Yeah, so
No
at the
sources.
most, it's a secondary source she's relying on.
Yeah, and a screenshot of an article, and I mean, that's nice. Where's the source? So that went on for a few hours today, and I just said, the person making a claim has the burden of proof. And
Yeah, exactly.
for me, that's natural. I mean, if you make a claim, at least, even if it's a bad article, at least show the article where you base your opinion.
Or at
But
least reason
nothing.
out, be able to
Yeah.
reason out your opinion. You don't even need to point the facts and figures, but reason out your opinion. Don't just say what is because I think it.
Yeah. No.
Reason it
But
out.
that's
The whole the idea that police officers do not have to do anything to actively protect you. I had made that mention, and I said, all right, here's why I think this. And whether you agree with me or not, here's some cases, and then here's the law, and here's why I think when push comes to shove, police officers don't have to do anything. Now, you might disagree with me, but at least it's well reasoned out. So even though I might not have the primary sources, at least it's well reasoned, and you need to do that. But I like the people that are like, this is not the place for that. I get into it a lot on Facebook, more so than Twitter, because I'm new to Twitter. But I'll go back and forth for a long while on Facebook. Just keep poking them a little bit and see if they break. And usually they do that same way. Like, I'm not arguing this here. It's like, well, you spent the whole day arguing it already, but okay.
Yeah, and sometimes I entertain trolls. Just okay. Is there something new about that particular troll? Because I've been arguing things for longer than I've been a union rep, and we like late 90s IRC and stuff like that, and the sites that predated Facebook and predated MySpace. We had Swedish sites called Skunk. That was a real cesspool. That was where I got my internet education in trolling. So I can entertain trolls for a bit, but it always ends with, there's nothing new or special about you, so I'm moving on. And but sometimes I've had back and forth. This is what was a while, but we went back and forth on Twitter for over a week. That was fun, because then it became that argument dance where, okay, now that person is using straw man and the other one is complaining, and then straw man back, oh, you can't use straw man. Well, you did, why can't I? And then
you argue about how to argue. You've lost the point of the conversation to begin with.
Yeah. That went out the window after 2 hours, and then for a good week we argued about how to argue.
A good phrase to learn is point of order. I use that often when people are like arguing about how to argue, about how to comment, about how to, it's like, okay, so point of order, back to your original point, kind of thing. I agree with DeWatt. Trolls are entertaining for all. They are absolutely the most entertaining people out there. I had somebody comment on one of my earlier streams. I can't remember what it was. But it was like trolly, and they wanted a reaction. So I screenshot it and I put it up on my stream. So that's how I responded.
Says hi. My cat said hi.
Did he grab your leg?
Again, no. Yeah.
He just does it out of the blue, like you're not even messing with him.
For fuck's sake! Oh, you're taking my back now? Hold on a second. No,
Mine are
he's not
sleeping.
happy.
I'll talk to the chat.
Mine not.
Hi, chat.
Yeah. Talk to the chat for a bit.
Nicholas had his cat attacking him before the stream too. That's a weird cat that continuously attacks people. All right, so I'm here. I'm running things. I prefer Hey Man. What's Hey Man? Oh, never mind. I thought you were talking about something else. I don't understand cat people either, Mads. Although there are 4 in my house, they are not mine. They are 2 are my wife's and 2 are her daughters, and so they are not mine. I kick them out of the room any chance I get. Your cat is a dog, Jamie. One of the cats is actually named Dog, Dog, because I was not going to call it a cat. Why he ghost kills his cat? Yes, I will talk. Jingles just wants some attention. It's really weird. His cat is really weird. Just attacks him out of the blue. Maxwell talks about the petition for Zachariah Anderson. Do check that out. Do sign it. And we're working on some form letters for that everyone can send out to politicians, attorney generals, and things like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, my cat knocked over.
You're like out of breath. You're sweating, fighting with your cat.
The asshole knocked over my lamp on the way out, and yeah, that was interesting.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, Hugo is getting bigger and bigger and starting to produce flowers.
Nice.
So in a few weeks, it might be some fruit, and then Gertrude is getting.
Do you have a window there? Is that why the plants are there? Okay.
Gertrude is getting real big.
Now, what is Gertrude? I don't know if I ever heard what Gertrude was.
Gertrude is a chili plant.
Okay.
It is a Swedish development called blonde, and the fruit will get almost translucent with a purple stripe. I'll see if I can find a picture of it.
And what is the I guess the season that those plants typically bloom and then produce the peppers? Is it your normal summer season?
Yeah, summer season, but also it depends on when you plant it and which of the different variations. For capsicum annum is an early. It takes maybe 10 weeks from seed to fruit. Then you have capsicum chinensum, which can take 6 months from seed to fruit. And let's see here. No, not that one. Open picture. Share. No, there. These are the blonde. Yeah.
Are they hot?
Medium. Very crisp. Just very crisp. Decent amount of heat. Perfect, just as an add-on in ordinary salad. If you just want a kick out of it and scared vegans.
I put everything but peppers on my salad.
Okay.
Not a huge fan of peppers on the salad, but I could see where you could maybe put it on a pizza.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
But those are very cool. Yes. Very, very alien looking, like alien fingers.
And my Wi-Fi is acting up again. I'm down to 1 bar, so probably the audience will see me as very blurry at the time. I don't know why it happens. It just suddenly just goes down, stays there for 10-15 seconds and then up again. And I'm not sure why. It
I'm
might
going to
be.
blame
I
your
know,
government.
yeah, I know that Lund has the nearest town has started with 5G, so it might be that it changes between 4G and 5G, and in the interim it goes up or down. I'm not sure why. Yeah, so that's the chili fruit.
Do you
Now,
have anything in your union system, by the way? Because I just saw another post about it or a comment about it. Tenured positions where essentially you need to bend over backwards to terminate somebody if they've been there for so long. We have tenured positions in a lot of our or some of our industries. Or if you've been there for so long, then you really need to do something serious, like kill your boss before they fire you. Kind of serious.
No, I mean, it depends on the rules of the workplace, what they
Okay.
deem as a fireable offense. For instance, if you are within the food industry, you can't walk in with a cigarette in your mouth. You'll be kicked out no matter how long you've been there, and it's virtually nothing we can do as a union. But the few positions that is actually protected more than others is if you're a local union boss.
Okay.
Yeah, because then it's not enough that that boss saw you do this, because that boss might just don't like you because you're a union rep. They have to have actual some form of evidence behind it.
Corroborating evidence, something else.
Yeah.
Someone else saw it, video camera,
Yeah.
something. Okay.
Yeah. And if it is a big layoff, the last person out the door is the head of the union, because that person must oversee everything, that everything is conducted correctly. If there is severance, that person has to see that the severance is getting paid out.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how it more or less works. But there are some workplaces that simply just fire. There are actually workplaces that appoints their own union rep.
I was just looking at Matt. You can't even smoke over the pot anymore. What's this world coming to?
Yeah. Yeah. If a workplace really wants to get rid of you, they will find a way. That's just it. And that's the same everywhere, I guess. But we do have, for instance, in Sweden, you can't just go on a strike. That's called a wild strike, and that's not allowed. There's safeguards in place for a union to be able to go out on strike. There has to be a certain number of negotiations. There has to be a mediator. I mean, it can take up to, I believe, from start to finish, maybe 6 weeks before you can even try to go out on a strike. So we do have safeguards in place. And that is just to keep an even playing field between you, because the unions in Sweden are really, really strong. So that's almost the opposite, maybe, from the United States. I don't know, that unions are almost too powerful in Scandinavia. So the laws are constructed to protect the employer. So we have to have safeguards in place just to make sure that we don't abuse that power we have.
Well, that's good. I think, well, the unions in the United States have a lot of laws protecting them as opposed to the employers. What Iris said in the chat, that Texas is at-will state. Most states are, I believe, Michigan is too, at will, meaning you work at will, at your employer's will and your will. So you can quit for any reason or no reason at all, and your employer can fire you for any reason or no reason at all.
Yeah.
And so that's the baseline. And then when you have the unions come in the collective bargaining and all that stuff, a lot of laws were developed to protect the unions because our default is at will. So we have kind of an opposite sort of system.
Then I heard about that hospital a couple of months ago that they had their X-ray staff.
I
Half
don't know
of
the
them
story.
quit. Half of them quit to begin work at a competing hospital, and was at an at-will state, and the hospital sued them.
On what
Because
grounds? Like breach of contract, or
they were too necessary for their for the hospital, because
oh,
the hospital was specialized in that kind of X-ray or something like that, CAT scan, something.
I understand the idea behind suing them and saying that they're
Mm.
too necessary. I don't know where the legal position would
Yeah.
come from.
Well, and apparently the staff who quit had asked for raise, had asked for better benefits, and the hospital said, no, we can't afford it, we can't do this, we can't do that. And then a hospital on the other side of town or something said, we can hire you for this much more pay. So of course they quit and wanted to work there. So
I
and
vaguely remember that case, but I don't know
yeah.
the outcome of it, how far it went.
Well, the judge granted an injunction over the weekend just to make them go back to the table to negotiate. But on Monday he revoked so the workers could go back to work. But they lost like a month of pay just because of that lawsuit.
Yeah, well, that should be part of their damages. They should be filing a countersuit, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened after that. I
Interesting. I'm gonna
vaguely
look that case up.
remember.
I might review it.
Yeah, I don't remember who actually covered it. Maybe it's more than a couple of months ago. Maybe it was last year.
Trinity Health.
Yeah.
No. Was it
No.
Trinity Health? That's in Michigan. Houston hospital employees. Was it Houston? Let's see. If anybody knows in the chat, I remember this case vaguely. I'm going to find out what happened to that case, and we'll probably doing this. 103 Texas hospital workers, 153 Texas hospital workers.
Wisconsin hospital. Oh, this is really long ago.
That was the one I was thinking about. Was the vaccine mandate policy?
Yes, Wisconsin hospital tried to break new grounds in the field by suing to stop a team of 7 healthcare workers from quitting their jobs. And Wisconsin is apparently...
of course, it's Wisconsin.
That's an at-will state.
Let's see.
Yeah. So, it's that long ago. It's a year and a half ago already. Yeah.
Well, we could do a retro review of it because I'm curious.
Yeah. But I don't know what ended up. But I do remember. I have a vague memory of them. Someone started a GoFundMe or something like that. So the employees didn't suffer much of it. They were gifted quite a lot of money.
Let's see. Yeah, now I'm curious. Now I kind of want to read this. I'm gonna cover this. I'm gonna talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, good. Now, I got a package in the mail. Now, this I bought myself.
I was gonna say, did Drunk you buy it, or did you
No,
buy it?
no. This was a conscious decision. I love opening packages. No, because it is this book.
Oh.
Yeah. This is what I'm going to start reading a story or a chapter of during my weird Swedish holiday streams.
While you're talking about that book, I'll be right back.
Yeah. And this is illustration by John Bauer. And John Bauer is the best illustrator, or was, of Swedish folklore. And this was so long ago that his images are no longer protected. For instance, you have pictures like this. So I will, with the stories, I will scan in the pictures to show while I am reading these Swedish folk and fairy tales for you in my streams. Weird Swedish holiday streams, because most of our holidays, even those that other countries have, is based in old myth, paganism, stuff like that. So it will be really fun, because I know of most of them, but I haven't read them in a very long time.
You were not muted.
So
oh, hello. Sorry. Wait, hang on. Ooh.
ooh,
As soon as I saw it.
yeah.
Nice. This is not mine,
mine
obviously. I can't read it.
Yeah, but mine is hardcover.
Oh, no, wait. I can read it. It's English.
Yeah,
Why did I think this was written in Swedish? I can read this.
because it said Swedish folk and fairy tales.
Right?
And then I got this one, Nordic Gods.
That one
Nordiska
I don't
gudar.
have.
No. And this I have to read a bit and then translate. So I can, when I'm done with that book, I can continue with this one. So this is it mostly about Viking gods and stuff like that.
Did you
Odin,
go over the
Thor.
cover on this book, by the way? The Trolls?
Yeah. John Bauer.
Why are you guys so into trolls?
It's really, really old. Have you ever been in a real Swedish forest? Old forest.
I've been in the forest near Nimitz. That's the only forest I've been to. Nimitz.
Okay.
I'm saying it wrong. My wife's correcting me as I say it wrong. Nimitz.
Now, where I grew up, there is real old forest. When you walk into a really old forest, now with the knowledge we have today, we know there's nothing to it. But when you walk into a real old forest, your imagination takes a hold of you. You can understand why people 1,000, 2,000 years ago started the myths about trolls, giants, stuff like that. And yeah,
They're not myths, they're real, says Iris. They're real stories.
Of course it's real. It's on the internet. Of course it's real. Yeah, old Norwegian forest also. And if you look long and hard enough in an old Norwegian forest, you will find musicians. But for instance, the original Santa Claus was a tomte, the Swedish gnome, so to speak. Santa Claus is quite a modern feature, especially Red Santa. That was a Coca-Cola commercial. The original.
Did you know that Santa was Turkish?
Yep.
Saint Nicholas was Turkish. I didn't know that. He was Turkish. Yep. So he wasn't a white guy, folks.
No, not even close. And neither was Jesus.
He was not.
No. Santa was originally green. Oh, sure.
Oh, his outfit.
Yeah. Yeah, we Näcken. That's Näcken is a fun guy. It's a nude guy in a river playing the violin, trying to lure women.
Ooh, like the Pied Piper who tried to lure the children.
Yeah, but our guy was after women, not children.
Yeah, a little different. So the Pied Piper, I believe, is what, Irish or something like that.
No, Nordic myths are much older than that, but they started through runes and the Eddas. It was started to get written down, then transcribed. I believe the oldest actual written down is the Eddas, that which talked about the Viking Age and the old Vikings and stuff like that. But also through the Edda, you had the story about Beowulf.
Oh, Beowulf.
Yeah, which was long before, and other things. So stories, the real ancient stories, of course, has probably been lost to time, but it evolved up until later on, and you find similarities between old Scandinavian and Nordic myth and what was later on written and then developed by Disney. For instance, you have
Disney.
Frozen is based on a Norwegian princess, I believe. Not entirely sure.
Well, Disney just bastardized everything that they touch.
Yeah.
Since day one. I mean, even if you look at Pinocchio, have you guys ever read the real Pinocchio book? Oh my God. It is not the Disney movie.
Yeah. We can't be entirely sure, but most likely he was a Palestinian Jew.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
Very dark
Most
skin,
likely.
very tight curly hair, beard. Not very dark skin, but somewhat dark skin. He wasn't what you see on the wall at your local church.
I believe that the Jesus figure in Madonna's video were more close to the original than what is portrayed in the West.
I don't know the Jesus figure in Madonna's video. I'm gonna have to Google that.
That's one of her 80s hits. What Like a Prayer? That video.
Like a Prayer?
Little Mermaid, Danish, yeah. Denmark still have the Little Mermaid. The statue is on the shore of Copenhagen.
Yes.
That's but mermaids has been around for quite some time. I don't think that Denmark can actually claim the Little Mermaid.
Mermaids are real.
Yeah, and mermaids are real, but it's the other way around. It's a fish top and human bottom.
Because that's the only part that Baker likes. I see Baker in the chat. He was talking about he's like the Little Mermaid statue. He's like, yeah, that's dumb in Denmark. But I want to see it.
Yeah, I know. His ethnicity was never the point. It was his message. Yeah.
I think geologically speaking, you can't really change Jesus. No, well, geographically, I guess, unless you want to transpose a white person in the Middle East and 2,000 years ago, I think you're kind of stuck with what he was.
Yeah. No, we won't be playing any songs during the trial.
We'll get struck right away. Stream will be pulled down.
Oh, yeah.
We could play 5 seconds at a time, interspersed with us talking. It'll be a lot of fun.
No, but something, because most of the old tales that then became Disney, I might get a hold of some of them because the originals are copyright free and has been forever.
Yeah.
But it's the bastardizations that are copyrighted. So maybe I'll try to find some of them as well. But
are you talking about videos or reading them?
No, reading them. Because
Pinocchio is like a thick book because I bought it. The original book, not the first printing, but the original story I bought, and it's a thick book, and I would love to be able to read it, but I don't have that kind of time.
It's gnarly. It's and most of these
Pinocchio kills Jiminy Cricket in the book. That's just the start.
Hansel and Gretel, they weren't as lucky in the book.
Yeah, I'm not lying. My nose is growing. It's a crazy story in the actual. Well, just all of them, or even okay. Should we talk about the Disney movie Pocahontas?
Mm.
And how not true that movie was. I mean, that's an
Yeah,
American story all the way through, but
yeah.
yeah,
Nobody's talking about what was his name? John Hancock was in his mid-30s, and she was like
John's
13 or 14.
yeah, it wasn't John Hancock. He was one of our
Mm.
founding fathers, but yeah,
Oh,
what's his name? Yeah, I can't remember. It wasn't John Hancock though, but
okay.
yes, Pinocchio
John
killed a
Smith.
cricket
John
for
Smith.
alternative
Yeah,
personality. John Smith. Yes, thank you, John
yeah,
Smith.
yeah. Well, you have a Smith president too, so I just combined the names. Don't you have a Smith
I
founding
don't think
father?
we have a Smith president. No. What
Okay,
is Smith? No, we have no Smith president. And it's
you
called
don't.
Herbie Hancock, by the way. Yes. Porcelain Thunder's got it. Herbie Hancock. That's it's from a
So you don't.
Herbie. Yes. Her John is okay. You guys didn't need to know Chris Farley movies for the Herbie Hancock line. But yeah, there's a lot messed up with that. No, John Smith. Oh, okay. Am I delayed in my chat reading? I feel like I'm delayed. I am. There we go.
Mm. America's James Smith, who was the founding father. No,
He might have been a
retracted.
founding father, but he wasn't a president. We've had no
Okay,
presidents named Smith. James
Joseph.
Smith Monroe or Joseph Smith Monroe, maybe. I don't know. But no last name Smith.
Okay. I don't know. I'm not American. I'm
Right.
glad
Most Americans don't know. If you said John Smith, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, our first president."
I could have created a fake memory for people. Yeah, John Smith, the president.
The president, yes.
Mm.
Everyone listening to you right now would have gone home and said, "You know, we had a John Smith president that married a 14-year-old Indian woman."
Yes, Jody. Pocahontas was a real life person. She died
Yes,
very young
Pocahontas
from.
actually existed. She was the daughter of a chief of a tribe that was near John Smith's settlement. And
Mm.
John decided to just basically take her, this 14-year-old girl, and use her at his whim. Yeah. And I believe she bore him some children, but I'm not positive on that.
Mm. Not sure.
American Dreamer is confused now. Well, that's probably because you were taught incorrectly in elementary school.
Mm. Well, going as there are just some things, some stuff we learn later on in life if we are open to it. For instance, you have Columbus Day, and I'm not sure that's a day to celebrate.
It's okay. This is just I'm just going to set this right here for Indigo. But do we want to celebrate Columbus Day? That's an interesting question. He rediscovered the American or North American continent for the European.
Are you sure? Did he ever set his foot on the continent or just the islands?
Well, just the islands, actually. I think he just on the islands on what we now call the Caribbean. But essentially, they're part of the continent, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, they're contained within the continent's, sort of description. But so I would say
Eric
he
the Red
rediscovered
or
it.
Leif Erikson, or
He rediscovered it because Leif Erikson was way up there first.
Yeah.
But and of course there were already people living here.
Yeah. So
but he
discovered
rediscovered it for the purposes of European knowledge and expansion. But for that, who knows where we'd be? who knows how
Mm.
far this establishment would be behind. So it's important. Yes, he did terrible things, but so did many, 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 many other people. If you want to celebrate your kings over in Europe and what they did and how they united and brought your people together, they still killed a lot of people in order to do it.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Vikings, America Colon. I don't know when South America landed on.
Vikings then. Well, so it was Leif Erikson went up in
Yeah.
Nova Scotia and
Yep.
had some settlements up there, but they weren't maintained and long forgotten. And
Mm.
then Columbus came, hit the Caribbean, and then a few other people started heading out this way, and kind of started from the Caribbean and went north and south. Then Spain kind of took South America and what we call Central America, even though it's part of the North American continent. And France and England were left with the leftovers and went north.
America Vespucci.
Oh, that's who it's named after. That's who America is named after. He's an Italian, but he also came. He was after Columbus, though. But he came and explored other parts of, I think, what's now Canada, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's exactly right. Leif Erikson came over and then he invented the phone.
Yes.
Actually,
sounds about right.
Ericsson didn't invent any phone. He invented the comfortable, what do you call it? With both for ear and handle. Phone handle? No?
The phone handle? Leif Erikson invented the phone handle?
No, Leif Erikson, but Ericsson, the company. And the inventor, Ericsson. Yeah,
yes,
he invented the actual, that stuff. Before that, it was big stuff there and something to listen and talk. Yeah.
Indigo, I agree with you. Jefferson was a lover of people of all colors. It just wasn't his time. He wasn't able to come out publicly. I actually, after I toured Thomas Jefferson's home and looked at a lot of the stuff and listened to a lot of the tour guides, if it would have been socially acceptable, he would have married her. Because it was his wife's sister. That was something that was common, by the way, back then. He loved his wife dearly. She died. I forget her name. Was a very close companion. He probably would have married her if it was socially acceptable.
Okay.
So now we're getting into and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, the handset. Yeah, okay.
Oh, Leif Erikson invented the handset. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Let's see. I was planning on going into other stuff, but we have had a decent conversation about things.
About nonsensical.
Some nonsensical
conversation that just sort of drifts.
But I found something that really, this wasn't this week. It was maybe it was this week. I don't know. Let's see here.
Wait, hang on. What is Mike L saying? I want to know more about this conspiracy here. Don't forget the Smithsonian destroying artifacts like the Egyptian stuff found in the Grand Canyon, which is why there's a part of the canyon that falls off. I want to hear more about this conspiracy theory now, because I love conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Contact Flux. She will dive right into that. Contact Flux.
We might have to do a conspiracy theory stream with Flux, because those are fun.
Yeah. Now, where was... Yes. This I found. I thought this was so fun. Disturbing emails reveal woke LA firm partners' offensive language towards women and people of color.
Okay. Is this going to be like a woke thing, or is it truly offensive?
I'm not sure.
All right, let's find out.
I haven't read it. I just saw the headline and thought, this I have to read. Louis Brisbois, a prominent law firm, has been embroiled in a scandal following the release of emails containing wildly offensive and demeaning language. The emails were exchanged by former partners John Barber and Jeff Ranen and were made public by Louis Brisbois himself, according to the New York Post, who are the truth sayers in everything. The emails reveal the use of derogatory language towards women, people of color, and the LGBTQ plus community.
They have to add the
Okay.
plus.
Yeah. Plus what? Plus partner? I don't know. And apparently, this law firm is very, very woke for some reason.
It's always the woke ones that go down.
I'll have to see.
I want to know what this email says, though. It's going to be something so, like, everyone in this chat and watching us right now would get this email and laugh about it, yet someone got offended.
New York Post. I'll just, Louis Brisbois, I'll just Google that. Derogatory email. Oh, it's in the Daily Mail as well. Also, the Harbingers of Truth. Oh!
Did you find it?
Not exactly, but they refer to it a bit more. Where did there? Top LA firm with celeb clients release scores of emails where top partners called Judge Sugar
Mama,
Sugar T.
Okay.
Refer to female lawyers as C-word and denigrated Jewish people after they defected to start their own firm. Yeah, that might backfire.
The first one I think is a compliment, right, Indigo?
One of the nation's largest law firms, which post celebrity clients like Kathy Griffin. Who's that?
Kathy Griffin?
Yeah.
She's the one that, like, mockingly cut off Trump's head in a video and wasn't facing criminal charges for threatening the president. She's an extremely leftist actress and wannabe comedian, although I don't find her funny.
Okay. Lawyers John Barber. Oh, lawyers John Barber and Jeff Rainen said they were leaving the Los Angeles law firm last month to build their own compassionate firm. I'm sure they are. And will be taking over 100 colleagues with them. In a press brief, the lawyers portrayed the former... What?
I was just reading the chat while you were going to the next line.
In a press brief, the lawyers portrayed their former firm as a profit-focused business. No!
What do you mean? A company is designed to make money? To have profit so that it can hire new employees and then pay those employees money?
Apparently, that's really, really bad. Where they were focused to compromise on their values and said the new office would focus on paying it forward. So you're going for bankruptcy. The mega firm then hit back last weekend, releasing emails between Barber and Rainen where they repeatedly used inflammatory comments against women, black and Jewish people, and gay men, among others. Yeah, you might, if you're leaving a law firm and starting a new law firm, don't shit talk your previous employer if you know that you have interesting language. That's not a good thing. The emails seen by the New York Post stretch back 15 years and show a Superior Court judge being called Sugar T. Okay, 15 years ago, which Superior Court judge would that be in New York?
I don't know. I don't follow New York judges very much. But I have a question. Those two pictures of those two individuals, those are the guys that left and released all these emails?
Those are the one who left.
The guy on the right looks way too happy. I don't care what the purpose of the picture was. He just looks way too happy.
It's almost photoshopped too happy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Oh, here is the actual email. Oh!
So let's see. Okay.
That was an interesting start
He's
of
he's recommending the
an email.
loophole.
Recommending the loophole. Oh, so this was a joke. After 90 hours of work this week, I missed the humor. F. By the way. Okay. She hates being called Barbs. Oh, but
maybe.
love Babs and sugar. Oh. Okay.
Well, you know, sometimes you need to know the preferences of the judge if you're going before her.
She doesn't want to hear the word "an" used in her presence. Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah. She claims it was used with great liberality, unnecessarily so by someone, and she found it very offensive. In fact, she didn't want to use for this mediation for that reason. Yeah, I could imagine if you use the N word, that can now not a great idea.
What is that? Oh, wait.
Salt B.
Yeah,
I have no idea who that is.
Oh, that's one of their clients. He's one of their clients. There's Kathy Griffith. She's horrible. She's the worst kind of woman, entitled liberal woman that thinks she's funny and is not. And yeah, she's you. If you don't like Nancy Grace, you're gonna hate this woman.
Okay. And there they are. Yep. Yeah, I could imagine starting your own law firm because you're compassionate and have values. Don't shit talk your previous employer. That's just general advice from a union rep to never shit talk your previous employer because you don't want them to.
Well, it makes you look good to your current employer. I mean, because your current employer doesn't want to be talked about that way after either.
No,
just let things be and move on. Just
if you have 5 previous employers and 2 of them didn't like you, use the other ones as reference.
You know, I had a former intern of mine that went off and became a lawyer in another state, and she called me and she's like, "Hey, can I use you as a reference? Because I don't want to use any of my current bosses and stuff because I still work for them." And I said, "Why don't you use opposing counsels that you agree with or that that you're nice to? Opposing counsel giving you a letter of reference would be a great thing from an attorney." And I said, "Why don't you just go ahead and do that?" And so that's what she ended up doing.
Yeah.
But you could get competitors that could give you letters of references too. That was kind of my point.
Yeah. During the years of pandemic, I believe is a word I can use. I offered services to employers to show up and educate on what was actually allowed during this event, and some of them picked up on it because most HR persons, at least here, don't really have a grasp on workers' rights. They know the employer's responsibility, but not really on the other end. So that was interesting. It kept me going during those years.
Nice. Well, I need to duck out. I have a family dinner I need to get to. It's always a pleasure chit-chatting with you, Nicholas, and the chat itself. Don't forget our Jody stream on Tuesday. And I will have a morning stream on Tuesday as well. And then, Nicholas, I have no idea what you got going on, but if you guys don't know me, by the way, it's MLS Law Show right here.
Yeah,
go subscribe. A lot of trials and different stuff.
Yeah, Yeah, go subscribe and follow him on Twitter. Now he's going to argue with people on Twitter, so that could be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So,
Yeah. If
all
you
right, y'all
follow
have a
me
good
on,
night.
yeah, bye.
Take care.
Take care. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you already know I can argue at occasions. So thank you. I've sent out some invites to other people. I don't know if they will show up or not, but I'll keep going for a while, at least. I saw another really interesting. This one. Judge orders criminal to attend law school. Yeah. Let's go a bit there. Away with that. A Texas defendant recently received an unexpected sentence for trafficking 28.5 kilos of cocaine. Okay. Typically, those found guilty of trafficking large amount of drugs face long sentences, but this defendant was sentenced to just 5 days in prison with credit for time served and the requirement to complete a law degree. Huh. Chief Judge Randy Crane of the Southern District of Texas issued this unusual sentence instead of the average 5-year prison sentence, hoping to steer the defendant away from further involvement in criminal activities by getting her to focus on mastering criminal law. Okay. Douglas A. Berman, an Ohio State University Moritz College of Law professor, suggests that the defendant may have been involved in drug trafficking to preserve a relationship with a partner, commonly referred to as the girlfriend problem. Women. The judge's decision to require the pursuit of a law degree could be seen as a way to reduce the likelihood of future involvement with the wrong people. However, the defendant's record suggests that she was running a trucking company that moved drugs for a Mexican cartel, indicating a deeper involvement in drug trafficking than just involvement with a romantic partner. Regardless, this sentence is better than letting the defendant linger in prison. In conclusion, the defendant's sentence of 5 days in prison with the requirement to complete a law degree may serve as an opportunity for rehabilitation and a future professional career. It's also a potential example of consistency in sentencing for similar cases. However, it remains to be seen if the bar admissions people will view it as an accomplishment worth rewarding. Yeah, that was really interesting. Oh, that sounds like something a Texas judge would do. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I have no experience with Texas judges. Can you work as a lawyer when you have 25.5? Apparently, you probably can't vote or own a gun, but you can be a lawyer. Interesting. I have no idea. I have no idea. There was nothing in the article that had. But then again, this was from February of this year, so we don't know if he or she is. Where was I? Yeah. No comment. Now, what else do we have? Oh, damn. I don't think I have anything more, actually. For today, me and David had such a nice discussion, and you were so sweet to hang on to us while we were doing it. And let's just see here. I'm not sure what is coming next on the YouTube. I will see if I can, on my subscription list, who is up next. But I do know that Kurt is doing a Cooking with Kurt stream. So I will send you over to him, and you can tell him I said hi. Okay. Thank you all for showing up at this Sunday stream. That should have been a Friday stream, but work got in the way. You all have a continuous last day of the weekend, and let's just hope that Friday comes soon. Next Friday, I might do a Finally Friday stream, and then move on to Jeff's F-It Friday stream. But until then, I will bid you farewell. I will send you over to Kurt, and you all have a nice day. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.